everybody, this is the Wikstrand. So let's talk for a second about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because I don't think it is a controversial or an uncommon opinion to have that ever since the release of Endgame, the Marvel Cinematic Universe hasn't really been what it used to be. It went from must-watch to could-watch. And since 2019, we have just had a litany of unnecessary movies, shoulder-shruggish movies, downright quite bad movies, unnecessary stuff, and a bunch of TV shows of which I've seen none of them except Loki. I think Loki was really good. And except for Shang-Chi and the 10 Rings, nothing has stand out of being, good or new or anything to write home about. My opinion about them is usually, I've seen this before, but it used to be better and it used to be a lot more fun and entertaining. So I didn't go into this movie with particularly high expectations, and they blew me out of the water. This is the greatest movie that Marvel has released since Infinity War. Yes, I think this movie is even better than Endgame. And it is by far one of the best movies that has been released in the superhero genre for at least 10 years. But why is that the case? And what makes it so good? And what is it about? That's what we're gonna find out today. This is Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. So Peter Quill and the rest of the Guardians has basically settled down on, some planet. But Peter Quill isn't a very happy leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy because, Gamora is dead, and the replacement Gamora, it will take too long to explain that thing, doesn't remember that they used to love each other and is a bit of an asshole. So he's sad and he's drinking too much. But when good old Peter has been sad for about 2 minutes, then Will Poulter and his frightening eyebrows shows up and say, aha! And he tries to kidnap Rocket Raccoon and eventually also, mortally wounds him. They find out that inside of Rocket there is a kill switch that will terminate him in 48 hours. Essentially, the escape from New York thing, but double the time they have to, save him. So they're going to have to find this code that will, save Rocket. So they go out on another adventure to try to find the code, save Rocket, and find out why they are trying to steal him and who is behind this. The guy who is trying to, capture Rocket is actually the High Evolutionary, who has this plan of creating this, perfect society, and he believes that inside of Rocket's brain lies the answers he's looking for. So that's why he, wants him. But the story is really about the Guardians of the Galaxy who is trying to save their friend from dying. I like that this is a smaller story, even though, they have these, intergalactic wars and battles and other stuff as well. But essentially, I like the fact that we are doing the smaller story. Even though I will say this is a bit of a minus, but I always thought that, well, since they didn't use, the golden people, that the Will Poulter is a part of, from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, we'll get to that in a second. I thought that, well, in this movie they will at least be used in a better way. Well, they are used in a better way, but they are really shoved to the side very early, and essentially we're told that they're not that important. We just use them to, present a bigger villain. So the question is, why did they have those people, teased being the big baddie in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 if you're not going to use them in this one? But I will say that I really like Will Poulter and, the fact that he's not very good at this. He's a bit of a doofus and a bit of a clumps and a bit of a buffoon. That can sometimes be very effective, and this is one of these cases where it really works. And after that, we just have a lot of fun adventures and action sequences with lots of humor, lots of creativity, and lots of fantastic attention to details. We also have a bunch of sequences where we see, Rocket Raccoon's backstory and, where he comes from and why he is the way he is. And I will say this, I like those sequences, even though they could have been shortened down just a little bit, even though it gives, you know, some motivations to why we should care about Rocket. And I will also say this, my God, is he a fantastic CGI creation. He just looks so alive when he has his emotional moments. You really feel for the guy, you really feel for Rocket, so that was a huge plus. So this movie has a lot of innovative, creative, and very, very strange and surreal action sequences, especially, you know, the thing where they go to the organic planet and do shit. That was very fun, and it was so creative, and it was so unusual to see this thing. And we have all the shticks that, you know, all the Guardians do, and everybody's here except for the fact that Gamora and Peter isn't boinking. But on the other hand, how long times has it been since anybody actually got laid in a Marvel movie? Jesus Christ, they're virgins, all of them at this point. But this is a very fun, extremely entertaining, fantastic looking movie with lots of great humor, lots of fantastic characters that you do care about. We even have a good villain in this one who actually gets some actual factual screen time, even though he doesn't get enough screen time to be a good fleshed out character, but at least it's some kind of progress, so at least we should be thankful for that. And I don't know if it is a coincidence that the best Marvel movie that has been made over the last 4 or 5 years is made by the same madman who did the best DC movie in almost a decade, hello, The Suicide Squad. So if you've somehow missed this movie, do see it, because this is as good as any of the Marvel movies that was done during, you know, the golden era of the whole thing. Guardians of the Galaxy was right from the start one of my favorite Marvel movies, because they combine two things I really like. They combine superhero movies and silly space operas, making Guardians of the Galaxy in fact a lot better than most Star Wars movies. I didn't think that they followed that up with a great sequel. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 is a fun space adventure also, but it also ran into a big problem, which was called a lackluster villain and a very frustrating choice of storytelling, which made me a little bit, oh God. And also the finale to that thing was a climax that seemed to go on for absolutely ever, which is also one of my criticisms for this movie, because this movie has a runtime that is far too long. 151 minutes or whatever it is too much, and it feels like the climax goes on for an hour. So you could have, you know, shaved off a bunch of stuff here to make the whole thing a little bit more palatable. But on the other hand, I did have so much fun during this entire movie that I'm willing to, you know, forgive them for that. It may be, you know, empty calories, but at the end of this movie I felt very, very well fed, and I felt like, wow, Marvel is really back, aren't they? But then they came out with the Marvels, which was not very good, so now I think that this is just a one-off to show that, well, we can do really compelling Marvel movies. We've just chosen not to do that the last 4 years. So I think that this is a very fun, wacky space adventure that, you know, ties together this trilogy very well, and maybe they will do more movies, but I think this is a perfect place to stop doing these movies and just let, you know, the Guardians rest. But on the other hand, since this was a huge hit and the fans seem to like it and even the critics liked it, so they're probably going to do more, which will, you know, muddy up the water and will clog up this thing, and they will probably do a lackluster sequel to this one, but we shall see, won't we? If you like the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies, you must see this one, because I think that this is the best in the series. And as I said, it is the best Marvel movie that they have made for almost 5 years. It isn't perfect, it's a little bit too long, and as I said, the climax just went on for absolutely ever. But if you can accept that, you will have a grand old time. I was okay with it, so fine, I guess. Even though, couldn't we have gotten, you know, the Golden People as the villains? Was the High Evolutionary the best thing you could do? But on the other hand, he's just so serious, which, you know, is a good mirror image and a good juxtaposition of the silliness of the Guardians of the Galaxy, even though it was done better in the first movie. but I do recommend this movie. It has a lot of fun, it has a great pace, it has a lot of great visual gags, and the humor works, and I like almost everybody in these movies. So this is an almost perfect Marvel movie. Let's see how long it will take them to make another one that is as good as this one, and hopefully one day that is even better than this one. Guardians of the Galaxy just brims with so much life and so much joy it has to it. Something that has been sorely missed with the Marvels for quite a long time, in my opinion. The soundtrack may not be as good as the other two movies are, but it is still a fun part of the whole experience. I give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 94 points. I really dug this movie. Maybe it was because I had so low expectations on it. If Marvel had done a string of really good movies, maybe this one hadn't got such a high rating as it does now, but now considering how lackluster the rest of it is, this does not stick out like a sore thumb. This sticks out like a big dick instead. So if you like Marvel in general, and if you like Guardians of the Galaxy in particular, go and see this movie. You will not regret it. It was an amazing experience in the cinema. So I'll see you next time for, well, so and so reviewing, well, such and such. Thank you for watching. Thank you very much.